Vandeham Sri Guru.
Adharmam dharmamitiya manyate tam tamashavrutam sarvartan viparitamscha buddhisa partha tamasi. So, synonyms: adharma, irreligion; dharma, religion; iti, thus; ya, which; manyate, thinks; tamasha, by illusion; avrta, covered; sarva arthan, all things; viparitan, in the wrong direction; cha, also; buddhihi, intelligence; sa, that; partha, O son of Pritha; tamasi, in the mode of ignorance. Translation: that understanding which consider irreligion to be religion and religion to be irreligion under the spell of illusion and darkness, and strives away in the wrong direction, O Partha, is in the mode of ignorance. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Intelligence in the mode of ignorance is always working the opposite of the way it should. It accepts religions which are not actually religion and rejects actual religion. Man in ignorance understands a great soul to be a common man and accept a common man as a great soul. They think truth to be untruth and accept untruth as truth. In all activities, they simply take the wrong path. Therefore, their intelligence in the mode of ignorance. So this is a very important point that we have to understand what is the definition of religion. A religion means the word of God. Anything that is, this question was raised by the Vishnudutas to the Yamadutas. The Vishnudutas and the Yamadutas, there was a question because they want to take Ajamil away, and then they stopped the Vishnudutas, the Yamadutas, from taking him away to Yamaloka. And then they questioned him, the Yamadutas, what is religion? You understand this point? And so there it is explained in this verse. Whatever is spoken in Shastra, that is religion. Whatever is not spoken in the Shastra, that is against religion. So that was the reply the Yamadutas gave. That is 6.1.40, you can see here. Yamaduta uchuhu veda pranitaho dharmo ya adharma stadiparyaha vedo narayana sakshat swayambhu iti shrushruma. See, the translation here is the Yamadutas replied, that which is prescribed in the Vedas constitute dharma, the religious principle, and the opposite of that is irreligion. The Vedas are directly the Supreme Personality of Godhead Narayana and are self-born. This we have heard from Yamaraj. Purport. The servants of Yamaraj replied quite properly. They did not manufacture principles of religion or irreligion. Instead, they explained what they have heard from their authority Yamaraj. Mahajanayena Gata Sapantaha. So in this verse, we just sidetrack a bit. We'll go to this verse. Tarko Pratistaha Sutayo Vibinam Naswa Rishi Yashya Matam Nabinam Dharmasha Tattvam Nihita Guhayam Mahajanena Gatasapantaha. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu continued, dry arguments are inconclusive. A great personality whose opinion does not differ from others is not considered a great sage. Simply by studying the Vedas which are variegated, one cannot come to the right path of which religious principles are understood. The solid truth of religious principle, I'm going to highlight this. So this. The solid truth of religious principle is hidden in the heart of an unadulterated, self-realized person. Consequently, as the Shastra confirms, one should accept whatever progressive path the Mahajans advocate. So in other words, the religion is advocated by the Mahajans. So, one should follow the Mahajan, the authorized person. Yamaraj is one of the 12 authorities. Therefore, the servants of Yamaraj, the Yamadutas, replied with perfect clarity when they said, Shru Shruma, we have heard. The members of modern civilization manufacture defective religious principles through speculative concoction. This is not Dharma. They do not know what is Dharma and what is Adharma. And therefore, as stated in the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, Dharma projihita kaitavatra. This is spoken in the first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Dharma again, projihita kaitavatra paramo nimatsaranam satam. Vedyam vastavyam atra vastu shivadam tapa trayon mulanam. Srimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Krite Kim Va Parai Ishvaraha Sadyo Hriday Avarudyate Tra Kritibir Shushu Shubis Tatchanad. Completely rejecting all religious activities which are materially motivated. This Bhagavata Puranam propounds the highest truth, which is understandable by those devotees who are fully pure in heart. The highest truth is reality distinguished from illusion, from the welfare of all. Such truth uproots the threefold miseries. This beautiful Bhagavatam, compiled by the great sage Vyasadeva in his maturity, is sufficient in itself for God realization. What is the need of any other scripture? As soon as one attentively and submissively hears the message of Bhagavatam, by this culture of knowledge, the Supreme Lord is established within his heart. So you see how the Srimad Bhagavatam actually is propagating the highest form of religion. You see the point, it's actually teaching the highest truth. Because it is only understandable by those devotees who are fully pure in heart. This pure in heart is characterized by this word you can see, Nimatsaranam. Nimatsaranam means people who are free of envy also. You understand? Devotees who are pure in heart means they must be 100% free from envy. That's why the word Matsaranam means envy. Nirmatsaranam also means free from envy, or 100% pure in heart, as Prabhupada is translating. So therefore, religious principles can only be understood by people who are pure in heart. It is not something which is, anybody thinks that just because he's praying he's religious, that's the definition of that. The highest truth is reality, distinguished from illusion for the welfare of all. Such truth uproots the threefold miseries. That means it goes beyond the modes of material nature. And the threefold miseries also means Adidevic, Adiatmic, Adibhautic. So this Srimad Bhagavatam, compiled by the great sage Vyasadeva in his maturity, means this is the last book written by Vedavyas. This is why it says maturity. It's sufficient itself for God realization. As Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says, if all the books in the world are burned and only one book remains, Srimad Bhagavatam, there will be a big success for the world. So there's no need for any other scripture. As soon as one attentively and submissively hears the message of Bhagavatam by this culture of knowledge, the Supreme Lord is established within his heart. Here in Sanskrit, you see, as soon as you hear, even once, you see, Sadhya, even once, within the heart, become immediately attracted, and also you see the word Tatchanat. Very quickly you establish yourself in purity. Very soon you get out of all these material miseries. You follow this point. So therefore this Bhagavatam is not an ordinary book. Let's read the purport here before we go. Religion includes four primary subjects, namely pious activities. So Dharma means four things. Pious activities, economic development, satisfaction senses, and final liberation. Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha from material bondage. Irreligious life is the barbarous condition. Indeed, a human life begins when religion begins. Eating, sleeping, fearing, and mating are the four principles of animal life. They are common both to animals and to human beings. But religion is extra function of the human being. Without religion, human life is no better than animal life. Therefore, human society, there is some form of religion which aims at self-realization, which makes reference to man's eternal relationship with God. In the lower stage of human civilization, there is always competition to lord it over material nature, or in other words, there continuous rivalry to satisfy the senses. Driven by such consciousness, man turns to religion. He thus performs pious activities or religious function in order to gain something material. But if such material gains are obtainable in other ways, then so-called religion is neglected. This is the situation in modern civilization. Man is thriving economically, so at the present he is not interested in religion. Churches, mosques, temples are now practically vacant. Men are more interested in factories, shops, and cinemas than in religious places which are erected by their forefathers. This practically proves that religion is performed for some economic gain. Economic gains are needed for sense gratification. Often when one is baffled in pursuit of sense gratification, he takes to salvation and tries to become one with the Supreme Lord. Consequently, all these states are simply different types of sense gratification. In the Vedas, the above mentioned four activities are prescribed in the regulative way so that there will not be any undue competition for sense gratification. But the Srimad Bhagavatam is transcendental to all these sense gratification activities. It is purely transcendental literature which can be understood only by pure devotees of the Lord who are transcendental to competitive sense gratification. In the material world, there is a keen competition between animal and animal, man and man, community and community, nation and nation. But the devotees of the Lord rise above such competition. They do not compete with materialists because they are on the path back to Godhead where life is eternal and blissful. Such transcendentalists are non-envious and pure in heart. In the material world, everyone is envious of everyone else, and therefore there is competition. But the transcendental devotees of the Lord are not only free from material envy, but are well-wishers to everyone, and they strive to establish a competitionless society with God at the center. The contemporary socialist conception of competitionless society is artificial because in the socialist state there is competition for the post of dictator. From the point of view of the Vedas or from the point of view of common human activities, sense gratification is the basis of material life. There are three paths mentioned in the Vedas. One involves fruitive activities to gain promotion to better planets. Another involves worshipping different demigods for promotion to the planets of demigods. Another involves realizing the absolute truth and his impersonal feature and becoming one with him. The impersonal aspect of absolute truth is not the highest. Above the impersonal feature is the Paramatma feature, and above this personal feature of the absolute truth, the Bhagavan Srimad Bhagavatam gives information of the absolute truth in his personal feature. It is higher than impersonal literatures and higher than the Jnana Kanda division of the Vedas. It is even higher than the Karma Kanda division and even higher than the Upasana Kanda division, which recommends the worship of Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna. In the Karma Kanda, there is competition to reach heavenly planets for better sense gratification, and a similar competition in the Jnana Kanda and the Upasana Kanda. The Srimad Bhagavatam is superior to all this because he aims at the supreme truth, which is the substance of the truth of all categories. From Srimad Bhagavatam, one can come to know the substance as well as the categories. The substance, the absolute truth, the supreme Lord, and all emanation are relative forms of energy. Nothing is apart from the substance, but at the same time the energies are different from the substance. This conception is not contradictory. Srimad Bhagavatam explicitly promulgates this simultaneously one and different philosophy of the Vedanta Sutra, which begins with Janmati Yashya. The knowledge of the energy of the Lord is simultaneously one with and different from the Lord. Is the answer to the mental speculator's attempt to establish the energy of the Absolute. When this knowledge is factually understood, one sees the conception of monism and dualism to be imperfect. Development of this transcendental consciousness grounded in the conception of simultaneously one and different leads one immediately to stage freedom from the threefold miseries. The threefold miseries are those miseries which arise from our mind and body, those miseries inflicted by other living beings, and thus those miseries arising from natural catastrophe over which one has no control. Srimad Bhagavatam begins with the surrender of the devotee and the absolute person. The devotee is fully aware that he is one with the absolute at the same time in the eternal position of servant of the absolute material conception. So, you can see, of course, this is a very long purport. So we are going back to the verse again. can understand, if you got time, you can read this purport. It is in 112 of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So here we are going back. Dharma not supported by the Vedas is rejected from the Srimad Bhagavata Dharma. Bhagavad Dharma consists only that which is given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Bhagavad Dharma is Sarva Dharma Parityaja Mamekam Sharanabhaja. This is the famous verse in the Bhagavad Gita, and it says here, Sarva Dharma Parityaja Mamekam Sharanabhaja Aham Tvam Sarva Papibhyo Mokshashmi Masucha. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reaction. Do not fear. This is the Bhagavata Dharma. One must accept the authority of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and surrender unto Him. Whatever He says, that is Dharma. This is a very important point here. Whatever Krishna says, that is Dharma. See? Arjuna, for example, thinking that violence was adharma, was declining to fight, but Krishna urged him to fight. Arjuna abided by the orders of Krishna, and therefore he actually a dharmi. Because the order of Krishna is dharma. Krishna said in Bhagavad Gita, Vedescha sarve aham eva vidyaha. The real purpose of the Vedas knowledge is to know me. One who knows Krishna perfectly is liberated, as Krishna is in the Bhagavad Gita. Janma karma cha midivyam evam yoveti tattvataha. Jaktvateham punarjanma naite mam eti sojuna. One who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, take his birth again in this material world, but attains my eternal abode. O Arjuna, one who understands Krishna and abides by his order is a candidate for returning home back to Godhead. It may be concluded that dharma, religion, refer to that which is ordered in the Vedas, and adharma, irreligion, refer to that which is not supported in the Vedas. Dharma is not actually manufactured by Narayana. As stated in the Vedas, Asya Mahato Bhuta Asya Nisvasitam Etat Yat Rikvedaha Iti. Injunction of Dharma emanates from the breathing of Narayana, the supreme living entity. Narayana exists eternally and breathes eternally, and therefore Dharma, the injunctions of Narayana, also exist eternally. The Madhavacharya, the original Acharya for those who belong to the Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya, says, Vedaham Vedanam Pratamo Vakta Hari Yato Vibhuhu Ato Vishnatmakaha Veda Iti Ayurveda Vatinaha. The transcendental words of the Vedas emanate from the mouth of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, the Vedic principle should be understood to be Vaishnava principle, because Vishnu is the origin of the Vedas. The Vedas contain nothing beside the instruction of Vishnu, and one who follows the Vedic principles is a Vaishnava. The Vaishnava is not a member of magnified community of this world. A Vaishnava is the real knower of the Vedas, as confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita. Sarvasachaham is sanavishto mata smriti jnana apohonam cha vedescha sarve aham eva vidyo vedavid eva chaham. So here you see, I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. By all the Vedas I am to be known. Indeed, I am the compiler of the Vedanta, and I am the knower of the Vedas. So you see this point here. So we have to understand that this religion is coming from God, Krishna. You know, religion is not manufactured by some people. Religion is actually the word of God. So once we say that if you do not know what is religion, then that means you do not know what is God. So we are going further into 1.16, 125. Okay, here we are going further on this talk between Parikshit Maharaj, and this is Dharani Vacha. The earthly deity in the form of a cow thus replied to the personality of religious principle in the form of bull. O Dharma, whatever you have inquired from me shall be known to you. I shall try to reply to all those questions once you too were maintained by your four legs and you increase happiness all over the universe by the mercy. So, the principles of religion are laid down by the Lord Himself, and the executor of such laws is Dharmaraj or Yamaraj. Right? Such principles work fully in the age of Satya Yuga. In Treta Yuga, they are reduced by a fraction of 1/4. In Dwapara Yuga, they are reduced to 1/2, and in Kali Yuga, they are reduced to 1/4, gradually diminishing to the point, to the 0 point, and then devastation takes place. Happiness in the world depends proportionately on the maintenance of the religious principle, individual or collectively. The best part of Vela is to maintain the principle despite all kinds of odds. Thus, one can be happy during the span of life and ultimately return to Godhead. So here, these are the principles of religion. In him, religion recites truthfulness, cleanliness, intolerance of another's unhappiness, the power to control anger, self-satisfaction, 6. Straightforwardness, steadiness of mind, control of the sense organs. 9 is responsibility, 10 is equality, tolerance, equanimity, faithfulness, knowledge, absence of sense enjoyment, leadership, chivalry, influence, the power to make everything possible, discharge of proper duty, complete independence, dexterity, fullness of all beauty, serenity, kind-heartedness, ingenuity, gentility, magnanimity, determination, perfection in all knowledge, proper execution, possession of all objects of enjoyment, joyfulness, immobility, fidelity, fame, worship, pridelessness, being as the supreme, as the personality of God, eternity, and many other transcendental qualities which are eternally present and never to be separated from Him. The personality of God is the reservoir of all goodness and beauty. Lord Krishna has now disclosed His transcendental pastime, now closed His transcendental pastimes on the surface of the earth. So, in His absence, the age of Kali has spread its influence everywhere. So I am sorry to see these conditions of existence. See, this is the point that the Dharma is making, because now the Lord has left the world. So therefore, the whole place has become full of irreligion. Kali Yuga means the whole thing is in a mess. You understand this point? So the moment Kali comes in, then what happens? Kali Yuga, when Kali comes in, what happens? You can see what is irreligion. Irreligion means that the main thing is that the Dharma is standing on 4 legs. You understand? 4 legs is standing, and 3 of his legs is already cut. That means the 4 leg is referring to 1, mercifulness, cleanliness, austerity, and truthfulness. These are the 4 legs in which religion is standing on. So practically, the other 3 legs, you understand? So here you can see the 4 legs. In Satya Yoga, truthfulness, your 4 legs were established by the 4 principles of austerity, cleanliness, mercy, and truthfulness. But it appears that 3 of your legs are broken due to rampant irreligion in the form of pride, lust for women, and intoxication. This is the thing of irreligion. The form of pride, see that? Lust for women and intoxication. So this is what is happening in irreligion. You understand? So religion means these 4 things: austerity, cleanliness, mercy, and truthfulness. This is the 4 legs. And out of these 4 legs, austerity is gone, cleanliness is gone, mercy is gone. Truthfulness is wobbling, that's all. You can see. So here the purport. So in these 4 legs, as you can see, I'm going to just read to you a little bit of what Dharma is all about. You are now standing on 1 leg only, which is your truthfulness, and you are somehow or other hobbling along. But quarrel, personified Kali, flourishing by deceit, is also trying to destroy that leg. You see how Kali is destroying even this truthfulness also. It's finished, practically. The burden of earth was certainly diminished by the personality of Godhead and by others as well. When he was present as an incarnation, all good was performed because of his auspicious footprint. Now she, the chaste one, been unfortunately forsaken by the personality of Godhead, laments a future with tears in her eyes. For now she has been ruled and enjoyed by lower class men who pose as rulers. This is the problem now. Understand, people who are not religious or low class men are now becoming rulers, and now they're making it a mess. Maharaj Parikshit, who could fight 1,000 enemies single-handedly, thus pacified the personality of religion and the earth. Then he took up his sharp sword to kill the personality of Kali, who was the cause of irreligion. When the personality of Kali understood the king was willing to kill him, he at once abandoned the dress of a king and under pressure of fear completely surrendered to him, bowing his head. So you see how Kali was almost, he was going to be killed by Parikshit Maharaj, because Parikshit Maharaj saw this black man was trying to, kill the cow, the bull rather. So then he had stopped it because he was such a vigilant king. He could immediately check this. But nowadays, there is no such thing. The cows are sent to the slaughterhouse and their poor animals are killed. Maharaj Parikshit, who was qualified to accept surrender and worthy of being sung in history, did not kill the poor, surrendered and followed Kali, but smiled compassionately, for he was kind to the poor. The king said, "You have inherited the fame of Arjuna. Therefore, since you have surrendered yourself with folded hands, you need not fear for your life. But you cannot remain in my kingdom, for you are a friend of irreligion." You see this? So irreligion means symptoms that I explained this now. Excessive pride, overly attachment for intoxication, and completely lasting after women. This is the symptom of Kali. See that? But so Kali was been driven away from the kingdom. But then Kali says, if the personality of Kali, irreligion, is allowed to act as a man god and executive head, certain irreligious principles like greed, falsehood, robbery, incivility, treachery, misfortune, cheating, quarrel, and vanity will abound. See, if you allow a man to be the executive head, that means if somebody is irreligious, then all these things will come about. You see? Falsehood, greed, robbery, incivility, treachery, misfortune, cheating, quarrel, and vanity will bound. It's already explained 5,000 years ago. See how accurate it is. Therefore, O friend of irreligion, you do not deserve to remain in a place where experts perform sacrifice according to truth and religious principle for the satisfaction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You see, whenever you don't do any religious activities, then Kali come in immediately. Understand? There's another meaning of this verse. If you don't perform religious activities, then you are only inviting Kali, friend of irreligion. In other words, if you don't chant, then you are going to be in the hands of plaything in the hands of Kali, and you're going to get into a lot of trouble. Understand this point? In all sacrifice ceremonies, although sometimes the demigod is worshipped, the Supreme Lord, personality of Godhead, is worshipped because he is the super soul of everyone, exists both inside and outside like the air. Thus it is only he who awards all welfare to the worshippers. You understand this? Even though you are going to the demigods, as Krishna says, that actually everything my etan, vihitan, hetan, he says, and everything actually is coming from me only. You follow? But it's done in a wrong way. Right? Then the Sutta Goswami said, the personality of Kali, thus been ordered by Maharaj Parikshit, began to tremble in fear. Seeing the king before him like Yamaraj ready to kill him, Kali spoke to the king as follows. "O your majesty, although I may live anywhere and everywhere, under your order, I shall but see you with bow and arrows wherever I look. Therefore, chief among the protectors of religion, please fix some place for me where I can live permanently under the protection of your government." So Kali is also a citizen. He wants a place. So permanently he wants. So Parikshit Maharaj said, this is the famous verse that we quote all the time. Sutta Vacha Abhyatirtastada Tasmai Sthane Kale Tadau Jutam Panam Stri Suna Yatra adharma chaturvidaha. This verse is very important verse. Sutta Goswami said, Maharaj Parikshit, thus been petitioned by the personality of Kali, gave him permission to reside in places where gambling, drinking, and prostitution, and very worst thing, animal slaughter were performed. This is the four principles that we are talking about: meat eating, illicit sex, gambling, and intoxication. If you break these principles, then it can be understood that you are living in Kali's kingdom. In other words, Kali, the age of quarrel and hypocrisy, is going to be ruling your life if you break these four principles. You understand this point? Very important verse. The basic principle of irreligiosity, such as pride, intoxication, and falsehood, counteract the four principles of religion, namely austerity, cleanliness, mercy, and truthfulness. Actually, if you have illicit sex, then you are not clean. If you are intoxicating, then you are not austere. And if you are full of falsehood, then you are not truthful. Understand? And if you eat meat, you have no mercy. The personality of Godhead has given permission to live in four places, particularly mentioned by the king, namely the place of gambling, the place of prostitution, the place of drinking, and the place of animal slaughter. Srila Jiva Goswami directed drinking against the principle of scriptures, such as the Sautramani Yajna, association with women outside marriage, and killing animals against the injunction of scripture are irreligious. In the Vedas, two different types of irreligion are there: for pravartas, or those who are engaged in material enjoyment, and for the nivritas, for those who are liberated from material enjoyment, bondage. The Vedic injunction of the pravartas is to gradually regulate their activities toward the path of liberation. Therefore, for those who are in the lower stage of ignorance and who indulge in wine, women, and flesh, drinking by performing the Sautramani Yajna, association of women by marriage, and flesh eating by sacrifice is sometimes recommended. Such recommendation in the Vedic literatures are meant for a particular class of men and not for all. But because they are injunction of the Vedas for the particular type of person, and such activities by the pravartas are not considered adharma. One's man's food may be poison for others. Similarly, what is recommended for those in the mode of ignorance may be poison for those in the mode of goodness. The Srila Jiva Goswami Prabhu therefore affirmed the recommendation of the scriptures for a certain class of men are never to be considered adharma or irreligious, but such activities are actually adharma and they are never to be encouraged. The recommendation of scriptures are not meant for encouragement for such adharma, but for regulating the necessary adharma gradually toward the path of dharma. Following in the footsteps of Maharaj Parikshit, it is the duty of all executive heads of state to see that the principle of religion, namely austerity, cleanliness, mercy, and truthfulness, are established in the state, and that the principle of religion, namely pride, illicit female association of prostitution, intoxication, and falsity, are checked by all means. And to make the best use of bad bargain, the personality of Godhead may be transferred to places of gambling, drinking, prostitution, and slaughterhouses, if there are any places like that. Those who are addicted to this irreligious habit may be regulated by the injunction of the scripture. In no circumstances should they be encouraged by any state. In other words, the state should categorically stop all sorts of gambling, drinking, prostitution, and falsity. The state which wants to eradicate corruption by majority may introduce the principles of religion in the following manner: 2 compulsory fasting days in a month, if not more austerity. Even from the economic point of view, such 2 fasting days in a month in the state will save tons of food, and the system will also act very favorably on the general health of the citizen. 2. There must be compulsory marriage of young boys and girls attaining 24 years of age and 16 years of age respectively. There is no harm in co-education at schools and colleges, provided the boys and girls are duly married, and in case there is any intimate connection between male and female students, that should be married properly without illicit relation. The Divorce Act is encouraging prostitution, and this should be abolished. 3. The citizens of the state must give in charity up to 50% of their income for the purpose of creating a spiritual atmosphere in the state or in a human society. both individually and collectively. They should preach They should preach the principles of Bhagavatam by A. Karma Yoga, or doing everything for the satisfaction of the Lord. Regularly hearing of the Srimad Bhagavatam from authorized persons or realized souls. 3. Chanting the glories of the Lord congregationally at home or at places of worship. And 4. Rendering all kinds of service to Bhagavatas engaged in preaching Srimad Bhagavatam. And 6. Residing in places where the atmosphere is saturated with God consciousness. If the state is regulated by the above process, naturally there will be God consciousness everywhere. Gambling of all description, even speculative business enterprise, is considered to be degrading, and when gambling is encouraged in the state, there is complete disappearance of truthfulness. Allowing young boys and girls to remain unmarried more than the above mentioned ages and licensing animal slaughterhouse for all descriptions should be at once prohibited. The flesh eaters may be allowed to take flesh as mentioned in the scriptures and not otherwise. Intoxication of all description, even smoking cigarette, chewing tobacco, or the drinking of tea must be prohibited. So here you can see how Prabhupada is giving a guideline on how to rule the world. The personality of Khalid asked for something more. Because of his begging, the king gave him permission to live where there is gold. Because wherever there is gold, there is also falsity, intoxication, lust, envy, and enmity. In other words, if you keep a lot of money, then you are not using it for Krishna consciousness. Money or gold is the same. In those days, gold is money. So then these things will also breathe. Nunam pravarte kurutevi karma. Whenever we get so much of independence with money, then we'll definitely, let me read this purport for you before we go. Although Maharaj Parikshit gave Kali permission to live in 4 places, it was very difficult for him to find the places because during the reign of Maharaj Parikshit, there were no such places. Therefore, Kali asked the king to give him something practical which be utilized for his nefarious purposes. Maharaj Parikshit gave him permission to live in a place where there is gold, because wherever there is gold, there are all the above mentioned 4 things over and above them. There is enmity also. So the personality of Kali became gold standardized. According to Srimad Bhagavatam, gold encourages falsity, intoxication, prostitution, envy, and enmity. When even a gold standard exchange and currency is banned, gold standard exchange is based on falsehood because the currency is not on par with reserve gold. The basic principle is falsity because currency notes are issued in value beyond that of the actual reserve gold. This artificial inflation of currency by the authorities encourages prostitution of the state economy. The price of commodities become artificially inflated because of bad money or artificial currency notes. Bad money drives away good money. Instead of paper currency, actual gold coin should be used for exchange, and this will stop prostitution of gold. Gold ornaments for women may be allowed by control, not by quality but by quantity. This will discourage lust, envy, and enmity. When there is actual gold currency in the form of coins, the influence of gold in producing falsity, prostitution, etc. will automatically cease. There will be no need of anti-corruption ministry for another term of prostitution and falsity of purpose. Thus, the personality guarded by the direction of Maharaj Parikshit, the son of Uttara, was allowed to live in those 5 places. So try to understand what is dharma and what is adharma now. So we have to be very careful to know. That's why Srila Prabhupada has given us this basic principle. What is the basic principle? Our basic principle is to follow these 4 principles and chant 16 rounds a day. Why we have to chant 16 rounds a day? Yeah. So this is the reason. What is it? 12. So in this verse, he explains what is the only thing that we can do. Kalau dosha nide rajan astiya eko mahan guna kitna deva krishnasya mukta sangam param brajat. The only religion that we can really do, my dear king, although Kali Yuga is an ocean of faults, there's still one good quality about this age. Simply by chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, one can become free from material bondage and be promoted to the transcendental kingdom. You understand this point? So although we want to practice Dharma, it's very difficult in Kali Yuga because so many difficult situations are there. But the moment you start chanting Hare Krishna, then Krishna himself will adjust everything for us. That is all. There is no other difficulty. Simply by chanting, everything comes all right. Okay, that's why the last verse in the Bhagavatam, you can see, this is the last verse in the Bhagavatam. Nothing more is spoken. Nama Sankirtanam Yasya Sarva Papa Pranasanam Pranamo Dukkha Samanartan Namami Harim Praram. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Lord Hari, the congregational chanting of whose holy name destroys all sinful reaction. Very important, chanting of the holy name destroys all sinful reactions. And the offering of obeisances unto whom relieves all material suffering. So, the Kali Yuga, the serving grace is this. Simply by chanting Krishna's name, everything is adjusted. And if you don't chant Krishna's name, then everything will become adharma. And suffering will increase more and more and more and more and more, no end. Right? So anybody got any questions on this point that I've raised? Time is already up. You can unmute yourself and ask the question if you like.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dinesh here, Prabhu.
Yes, Dinesh.
And Prabhu, I think I've asked this maybe once or twice before, but so like while I
What is that question?
so can we right when I worked in America or when I studied in some of these colleges in India, it was almost that I was a different person before I went to college. I came out a different person, then I went and worked in America, then I came back as a different person. So it was almost like a different religion was being followed in these colleges and in these places of work.
Yes.
And since 1994, I've been propagating that religion. I've been propagating that religion. Engineers, I am propagating that religion, that system of quote unquote religion with students because everybody is very enamored with it because you get a lot of money with it.
Yes.
And I've come to realize that is irreligion, and whom I thought of as naive, like for the devotees. Like first time when I met Prahlad Prabhu, Sundar Gopāl Prabhu, he told me they were struggling to run the a temple in the previous location, and then we go do our work and Krishna runs this temple. I kind of mentally laughed that these guys are so naive, they don't know how to run a temple, and I should help them with my corporate knowledge and some things like that. And then over these last 3 years, I've realized I was the fool, and they were actually, I understood that Krishna and Srila Prabhupada actually run it.
Yes. So therefore,
I've come to
material education always defies, it defies the supremacy of God. That's why we see in this mantra, I'm going to take you a mantra that I'll show you what is the, I think it is, Ishopanishad. Ishopanishad 9. Let me see if I can get it. Okay, oh my goodness, going to the wrong one. 9, let me see. Okay, here in this mantra 9, so here it says in this mantra, you can see, Andam tamaha pravishanti he vidyam upashate tato buya evate tamo ya u vidyayam trataha. So here in this verse, those who engage in the culture of Nissan activity shall enter into the darkest of ignorance, region of ignorance. Worse still are those who engage in the culture of so-called knowledge. You see the point? This material education, so-called knowledge, they're bringing them to the worst region of darkness. In other words, they go to hell. Purport. The mantra offers a comparative study of Vidya and Avidya. Avidya or ignorance is undoubtedly dangerous, but Vidya or knowledge is even more dangerous when mistaken or misguided. The mantra of Ishopanishad is more applicable today than at any time in the past. Modern civilization has advanced considerably in the field of mass education, but the result is that people are more unhappy than ever before because of the stress placed on material advancement, to the exclusion of the most important part of life, the spiritual aspect. As far as Vidya is concerned, the first mantra has explained very clearly that the Supreme Lord is the proprietor of everything and that forgetfulness of this fact is ignorance. The more a man forgets this fact of life, the more he is in darkness. In view of this, a godless civilization directed toward the so-called advancement of education is more dangerous than a civilization in which the masses of people are less educated. You see this important point Prabhupada is making? On the different class of men, karmis, jnanis, yogis, the karmis, those who engage in the activities of sense gratification, and the modern civilization, 99.9% of the people are engaged in activities of sense gratification under the flags of industrialism, economic development, altruism, political activism, and so on. All these activities are more or less based on satisfaction of the senses to the exclusion of the kind of God consciousness described in the first mantra. In the language of the Bhagavad Gita 7:15, people who are engaged in gross sense gratification are mudas, asses. The ass is a symbol of stupidity. Those who simply engage in profitless pursuit of sense gratification are worshipping avidya, according to Sri Ishopanishad. And those who play the role of helping this sort of civilization in the name of educational advancement are actually doing more harm than those who are on the platform of gross sense gratification. The advancement of learning by godless people is dangerous as valuable jewel on the hood of a cobra. A cobra decorated with a valuable jewel is more dangerous than one not educated. In the Haribhakti Sudodaya 3:11-12, the advancement of education by godless people is compared to decoration on a dead body. In India, as in many other countries, some people follow the custom of leading a procession with a decorated dead body for the pleasure of the lamenting relatives. In the same way, modern education is a patchwork of activities meant to cover the perpetual miseries of material existence. All such activities are aimed towards sense gratification. But above the senses is the mind, and above the mind is intelligence, and above the intelligence the soul. Thus, the aim of real education should be self-realization, realization of the spiritual values of the soul. Any education which does not lead to such realization must be considered avidya or nisain. And to culture such nisain means to go down to the darkest region of ignorance. According to the Bhagavad Gita 2:42 and 7:15, mistaken mundane educators are known as Vedavada Rata or Maya Paharta Gyan. They may also be atheistic demons of the lowest class of men. Those who are Veda-Vada-Rata pose themselves as very learned in Vedic literature, but unfortunately they are completely diverted from the purpose of the Vedas. In the Bhagavad Gita 15:15 is said that the purpose of the Vedas is to know Supreme Personality of Godhead, but those who are Veda-Vada-Rata men are not at all interested in Personality of Godhead. On the contrary, they are fascinated by such fruitive results as the attainment of heaven. As in Mantra 1, it is should know that the Personality of God is the proprietor of everything and that we must be satisfied with our allotted portions of the necessities of life. The purpose of all Vedic literature is to awaken this God consciousness in the forgetful living being, and this same purpose is presented in various ways in different scriptures of the world for the understanding of a foolish mankind. Thus, the ultimate purpose of all religion is to bring one back to Godhead. But the Veda-Vada-Rata people, instead of realizing that the purpose of Veda is to revive the forgetful soul's lost relationship with the personality of Godhead, they take it for granted that such side issues as attainment of heavenly pleasure for sense gratification, the lust for which causes this material bondage in the first place, are the ultimate end of the Vedas. Such people misguide others by misinterpreting the Vedic literature. Sometimes they even condemn the Puranas, which are authentic Vedic explanations for the layman. The Veda-Vada Ratas give their own explanation of the Vedas, neglecting the authority of great teachers, acharyas. They also tend to raise some unscrupulous person from among themselves and present him as the leading proponent of Vedic knowledge. Such Veda-Vada Ratas are especially condemned in this mantra by the very appropriate Sanskrit word Vidyayam Rataha. Vidyayam refers to the study of the Vedas. Because the Vedas are the origin of all knowledge, Vidya, and Rata means those engaged. Vidyayam Rataha thus means those engaged in the study of the Vedas. The so-called students of the Vedas are condemned herein because they are ignorant of the actual purpose of the Vedas on account of their disobeying the acharyas. Such Veda-Vada-Ratas search out meanings in every word of the Veda to suit their own purpose. They do not know that the Vedic literature is a collection of an extraordinary book that can be understood only through the chain of disciplic succession. One must approach a bona fide spiritual master in order to understand the transcendental message of the Vedas. This is the direction of the Mukunda Upanishad. These Veda-Vada-Rata people, however, have their own acharyas who are not in the chain of this transcendental succession. Thus, they progress into the darkest region of ignorance by misinterpreting the Vedic literature. They fall even further into ignorance than those who have no knowledge of the Vedas at all. Now, Maya Paharta Gyan class of men are self-made gods. Such men think that they themselves are God and there is no need of worshipping any other god. They will agree to worship an ordinary man if he happens to be rich, but they will never worship the personality of Godhead. Such men, unable to recognize their own foolishness, never consider how it is that God can be entrapped by Maya, his own illusory energy. If God were ever entrapped by Maya, Maya would be more powerful than God. Such men say that God is all-powerful, but they do not consider that if he is all-powerful, there is no possibility of it being overpowered by Maya. This self-made God cannot answer all these questions very clearly. They are simply satisfied to become God themselves. So does this answer your question?
Yes, Prabhu.
So this mantra is very important mantra. Ishopanishad mantra 9.
Yes, Prabhu.
Any other questions? Anyone else?
So what do I do, Prabhu?
No, you are doing all right now. You chant. As long as you are chanting, everything falls in. Krishna in your heart will guide you. The moment you are actually, as Krishna says in this verse, I'll show you. You see how Krishna says, the one who was always chanting my name, to those, let's read the Sanskrit, very nice verse. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajantam pritipurvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayanti te. To those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. The next verse Krishna says, how? Tesham evanukam partam aham ajnanajam tamaha nasyami atma bhavasto jnana deepena bhasvata. To show them special mercy, I, dwelling in their heart, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. So this is the job of Krishna, and that can only happen if we surrender. Without chanting means no surrender. That's why the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has introduced a very simple formula. You chant Krishna's name. Because when you chant, you are surrendering. My dear Lord, please engage me in your service. That is surrendering. So the moment you surrender, then the Lord is obligated to take care of us. Then everything works automatically. How does He work? That we don't have to understand. You see the point here that's explained in chapter 9, text 30. You see, for those people like us who are sinful, api chat su duracharo bhajate mam ananyabhag sadureva samantavya samyak vyavasito esaha. Even if one commits the most abominable action, if he is engaged in devotional service, he is to be considered saintly because he is properly situated in his determination. This is the point Krishna wants. Krishna wants us to become his devotee. Never mind what we have done in the past, all this thing is forgotten. Simply you start, and then what happens, you see? It says here again in this verse. Chipram bhavati dharmatma sasvachanti nigacchate kauntaya pratijanehi name bhakta pranashati. He quickly becomes righteous and attains lasting peace. Osana Kunti declared boldly that my devotee never perish. So this is the formula. It's very simple in Kali Yuga. Despite so many problems, we just have to stick to this, Chant 16 rounds, follow the 4 principles, read Srila Prabhupada books, associate with devotees, take only Krishna Prasadam, then you see your life will be successful. When you compromise with this, then the result will also be compromised. Then of course you may do chanting for millions of years, but if you don't follow, then you can carry on and you will not get the results. Is it clear?
Yes, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu. Nirmal Prabhu, Shekhar Prabhu, could you kindly ask some questions and anybody else? Thank you.
All right. If nobody has a question, I guess I have to thank all
Nirmal
of you.
Prabhu, Shekhar Prabhu.
No questions, huh? Never mind. I think you have heard at length, and I think it is very, very informative what I have spoken. So please try to meditate on all this. Just see one very important point highlighted here. One who is not a devotee of the Lord has no good qualification whatsoever. See that? So we should try to become a devotee of Krishna, simply chant and follow Prabhupada and keep association with devotees. Everything will be okay. So right, thank you all very much for giving me an opportunity to share this wonderful evening with all of you by hearing the Bhagavatam together and sharing all the purports of Srila Prabhupada, who is our supreme spiritual master, of which we have firmly taken shelter, and for sure by following his divine instruction, we will definitely get his mercy, go home back to Godhead, transcend all this influence of Maya and become happy. Thank you again. Hare Krishna. All glories to all of you.
Vandeham